Hello, and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by Mike Smith, award-winning director Brian Redondo, and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 35, and on today's show, Savon drops a new starting five, and we come together to discuss individually what we're loving. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, gents. Top 5 Savon list. It's time for it. He's going to talk about his top 5 Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, the animated genre of villain, but not just his top 5 villain list. It's actually the top 5 villain drip swag list. So Savon, take it away. I don't know if you want to go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. Or maybe there's not even a ranking system here, but, drop it on us what you got, and then we'll give our little reactions. Mike, what you got?
Just one quick question before we dive in here, just so I can understand.
Oh, my God.
Can you just briefly, in a couple sentences, explain the difference between swag and drip, please?
Well, it's a really good question there, Mike. I definitely can. In my own opinion, I think drip generally has to do with your style of dress. Mm-hmm. So you can be dripped out, have nice clothes, they can match. Maybe it's Gucci, expensive stuff. I'm not into that personally, but to each their own. Mm-hmm. Either way, your overall style. Swag, I think, involves your style, but also how you carry yourself, how you walk, how you talk. Ideally, you want both, but you can absolutely have drip and no swag.
But can you have swag and no drip?
Yes, but that's probably its own type of challenging. But it's not off the table.
But if you are one-sided, does that mean you're really doing that one side well? Like, you got amazing swag if you got zero drip.
I'm going to have to really reflect on, like, who's someone who has a lot of swag, no drip? I mean, there's people who, like, maybe don't have a lot of money or, like, dress really simple and minimalist, but they still carry themselves well. So you can, but I wouldn't want to have drip and no swag is what I'll say. That's, like, really bad.
Is it worse than having no drip?
Yes. Imagine being the guy at like a sports game with like a expensive outfit that objectively costs money, and they just it's like, nah, dude, this ain't it. That's worse than just having like a t-shirt and jogging pants on.
So then all of the people on this list have both drip and swag?
Not necessarily. It's a sliding scale. It's a sliding scale.
All right, well, dive right in. Let's hear it.
All right, cool. So for context, Wes and audience, I do a first team sports type system. So they're not one better than the other. It's just like this tier of that. You can decide who's better yourself or who has more or less of drip swag.
So this is in no particular order.
In no particular order.
A top 5, but not a top 5 is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a list. But in no particular order. Like
starting 5.
List.
It's a starting
5. Yeah, starting five. So
right, we'll call it
we have
5.
Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians and I think 102.
And is this the Emma Stone version,
Not
or is
in the
this
slightest.
the original one?
No, we're talking
like
the animated cartoon, the cartoonish old lady smoking the long cigarettes. Her.
All right.
Dr. Facilier, so you might know him as the witch doctor from The Princess and the Frog. We have Fairy Godmother from Shrek 2, the greatest Shrek movie, comfortably. We have Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. No, sorry. Was it like Gaston?
Yes. I mean, you don't have to say it all flowery, but I mean, like, make an effort here.
Gaston?
Savon left Louisiana for like 2 weeks, and he's like, Gaston.
Yeah, I'm all Midwest, baby.
So Midwest.
Gaston. And then finally, we have Lotso Huggin' Bear, who you may know as Lotso from Toy Story 3. So they all have sliding scales of drip, swag. They're all villains. What are we thinking, people?
So who would you say out of here if you did have to pick like the LeBron James, the Giannis of this team, of this starting five.
The
Giannis?
We're gonna get on
Clearly you're
Aston
not
and then
Midwest.
go with
How do you
Heathen.
how do you
Giannis.
pronounce it? Giannis.
It's like
Giannis.
Euro, you know.
All
that's
right.
great.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Who is the Giannis or the Gaston of this team?
Oh, that's a tough one, but it might have to be Cruella. I think a lot of the others slide heavily into either drip or swag, but for her, it's both. First of all, she has the drip on lock. Like, her whole shtick is that she skins dogs and makes them into coats. That's like, and she ensures that they're puppies because that's the higher quality coat. They make that clear. That's a plot point. Like, why don't we go after the old dogs? No, the puppies, because it's like a baby seal system. It's viciously
I don't think
evil.
people wear baby seals, Savon.
You don't think people absolutely club baby seals because they have the white down that they only have as
Wait,
cubs.
for real? I always thought
Yeah.
that was just
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
for real?
Yeah, you ever seen the furry white seals? They only have
Yeah.
that down as babies, as infants. Once they get older, it molts. So
Is
you
that
gotta
where-
catch them while they're
That's-
babies and kill them to get the down.
That's where clubbing baby seals comes from?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You don't wait till they're
Yikes.
adults because you can't. There's no fur to get. It's just skin. But
So
yeah,
Well,
take
that's
that
depressing.
and
The more
apply
you
it
know.
to dogs.
Yeah, but yeah, that's logic, but dogs. So say what you want. She's you've seen her. She has some gangsta long coats. Y'all already know I have a flair for colorful, big furry robe stuff. And then
Do
the
you have a
drip-
matching coat? I bet
one
you
day. One day.
Don't let this man near your dogs. is
What?
what
I
he's
love
saying.
dogs.
I'm actually confused about the fairy godmother.
I'll get to
Like,
her.
what's her drip?
Well,
angle
hold on.
here?
And with Cruella though, that's the drip. The swag just comes from how deliciously evil she is. She doesn't pretend to be anything else. She's smoking a cigarette. She's rich. She got her car. She, like, how she carries herself is like, yeah, you know exactly who you are, and you gotta respect people who have self-awareness.
And not only does she smoke, which is objectively cool, so sponsor us, Philip Morris or whatever.
Big tobacco.
She's got like that crazy long thing. Like, isn't that so funny? Like, that was just like some shit targeted to kids. Just like, look how cool she is for smoking out of this long, like, I don't even know what you call this thing. It's probably got some weird French
Like
name.
a cigarette holder, just a cigarette holder, basically.
The other
Just-
thing I want to point out is that her hairstyle is also kind of out there. She's got the half black, half white, like kind of like a bob perm thing going on. She's Sia before Sia even existed.
Yeah. And she's a fashion designer. Her whole shtick is like actually drip for a living. So, if you're just talking just all around, it's got to be Cruella de Vil.
And she's the OG too.
Yeah, and
So-
she's
Yeah.
been doing this for a minute. Live
Yeah.
action, animated. She's put her time in.
All right.
kind of
All
the
right, so
LeBron.
explain
Yeah, the
explain to me
LeBron.
fairy godmother, because I just googled fairy godmother from Shrek,
Mm-hmm.
and if maybe we'll put up this link.
Can
so
I
you
can I take
see
a
it.
guess here? And I'm probably going to be really wrong.
No, you might. No, I think you're getting on. You're catching on. What's your
Is the
From
fairy
Shrek.
from Shrek?
That
sorry.
second one.
Way
The
different.
second one right there.
Is she like full swag, no drip?
full swag, average drip?
Okay, I was
Ooh.
close.
Her drip,
Look at
her
me.
drip isn't bad because look, like if you watch Shrek, there's
She-
that whole
yeah,
scene where she
yeah.
sings "I Need a Hero" and she's spinning around and she has the red dress. So like
Yeah.
she can swag when she can drip when she wants. Clearly, it's just a choice. But oh my goodness, that woman oozes swag. She
Yeah.
was the highlight of that movie. She comes off as so friendly and innocuous, but she's actually devious and evil. She's nepotistic, trying to make sure she puts her son on. She's really committed to just being a hater and just manipulating and framing people, and that's really, really swag. And you gotta respect it. She was such a fun villain, like Lord Farquaad, from Shrek
No-
1. He had
No
neither.
swag. No
He was
swag.
no
Yeah.
swag, no drip. Oh, he's like the example of, I guess he had drip in the sense of being royal, but his swag was so low that the drip became a net negative.
I am
He's
so excited.
overcompensating.
I'm
Thank you,
understanding
Brian.
this. I am so
Yeah.
excited to be understanding this.
Like objectively nice materials, but it's just like, dude, what are we doing here? Also, the hairstyle. I can't imagine we're never talking about that. All y'all in the audience, y'all done seen Shrek, man. Y'all seen Lord Farquaad hair, yo. It's awful. But But yeah, Fairy Godmother, it's a big, lots of swag.
So that's
Who's
all
probably the
swag and no drip. Who on this list is all drip, no swag?
Well, the thing is, if someone was all drip, no swag, like I said, kind of like with Lord Farquaad, it becomes such a negative that you can't even make the list.
Fair
in my
enough.
opinion. Because now at that point, there's nothing admirable or likable about what you're doing. Like, it's one thing if you're fresh and you're a jerk, and it's both. It's another if you're fresh and you're not even cool. So, imagine like the least cool person just putting on a bunch of Gucci and saying, "Hey, look how fresh I am."
Shout out Alan Wynn.
Oh my God, that would catch you very
Harsh.
unnecessary. Oh my
Can't even
goodness.
defend himself.
Right?
Jokes, love you, Alan. Friend
Yeah,
of the show.
so come on. Any others? Where are we at? I think
Well,
we're getting a better
here's my
understanding.
question. So we've looked at Cruella de Vil as, the LeBron character. We have, Fairy Godmother. She's up there, not number one. Who is like at most jeopardy of getting, relegated to second team here? So we have Dr. Facilier, Gaston, and Lotso Huggenbear. So who is like the last one to make it onto this list?
Well, Gaston is, I think, pretty like average in both regards. He has a reasonable amount of drip, like nothing that's next level. He has a lot of swag, but he has a lot of that unlikable, real like frat boy D-bag swag.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah,
I
like
we're
it
just
personally.
calling misogyny swag at this point.
It's his
Isn't
own
that-
type of swag. It's not a good type of swag, but how
Fair.
I see it is that if you've watched the movie, as evil as he is, look at him. He's a big, strong, muscly man with a nice shirt. Like, there's objectively some of that is just a fresh fit. And as evil as he is, he's a hunter, knows what he's doing, and the town loves him. That's the thing.
He's got the deep V. The deep V cut
deep
right there.
deep
Yeah.
V cut.
Yeah,
That's
real
the-
deep.
like
You gotta be
sternum
confident.
level.
Yeah,
But
you
the
gotta
thing
be
is,
confident.
they like
He
him.
also has the gloves that match the collar and the arrows.
Yeah.
That's some drip.
Yeah, when your arrows like are color coordinated for your outfit, like that is at least some level of drip. But like,
And the
wow,
town
what a
loves 'em.
creep, dude! Like, it's so weird. Like, we just internalized all this shit as children.
I didn't see this movie as a kid.
What? You've never seen this movie?
Not as a kid.
You
might
watched
have
it
seen
as
some
an
of-
adult.
I might have seen
Why?
I might have seen some of it as an adult. I haven't seen this entire movie. I've seen enough to know that Gaston is worthy of being on this list.
So then, like, this is gonna be a good callback because one thing we've been planning and we're giving our audience a behind the scenes is we're gonna actually now gonna have to do a segment of all the stuff that you've fallen behind on. And apparently, starting with Beauty and the Beast is gonna be the move. This is a classic movie, Savon. Like, what are you doing? What
Too
was happening?
misogynistic for my taste.
Well, just to turn
Touche,
the tables,
okay,
some of us have not seen the movie that Dr. Facilier has been part of. Or is part
Which,
Myself
speaking to your
included.
original question, Dr. Facilier is probably most likely to get cut from this list. And that was a really tough thing I had to really think about because I think he has a lot of drip and he has a lot of swag. In fact, he has a lot of both. So you'd wonder, why is a guy who dresses well, matches his fit, got the little mid-drift game, and swagging all over the place with friends on the other side, why would he be knocked down? And honestly, his entire bit is that he is ultimately indebted to his friends on the other side. There's nothing swag about being in debt. Nothing. And if you've seen the movie, spoiler alert, his defeat comes down to him not ultimately paying whatever his due is or his end of the bargain with his friends on the other side, and that leads to his demise. And there's just nothing swag about that. So are you really swagging if it's basically leased out? I don't think so personally. So is he worthy of being on the list for his all-around game? Yes, but I can't pretend that he doesn't have some bad credit in terms of how sustainable it all is.
Oh my god.
His credit score is low.
It's sus. It's sus.
I think every family in every neighborhood has a Dr. Facilier. Just that dude that is trying too hard to ball but can't.
Yeah, and it's like the gesture's good because he's on this list for a reason, but it's like, oof, man, I really need you to get your demon spirit contacts in order.
I like the spats though. I give respect to that.
So I also want to mention Lotso Huggenbear. He is
He has no
naked the
clothes.
entire movie, How is he on this list?
All swag. He runs a whole mean operation that's like a mob. He got the toys that act up get put with the destructive little kids. He in the playroom with the chill kids. He reprogrammed Buzz to be his goon soldier. He just gets a lot done, and he has that mob boss swag. You gotta give him props. Does he lose in the end? Yeah, but he almost got them people incinerated, and they only won because of plot, basically. So Lots of Luggin has a lot of good feats under his belt, despite being a naked plush bear during the film.
He got a cane.
He earns his spot. And he has that cane. The cane does add, like, you're a teddy bear. You don't need a cane, but guess what? The drip and swag demands it. Good call, Wes.
Hey. So I'm starting to see a trend here that the last thought is just that swag. It seems like you have a reverence for some pretty people.
It's a villain list. It's
a villain list. But this was a lot harder to do for protagonists. I'm not gonna pretend.
Right. Any notable snubs here from this list?
Water Noose from Monsters Incorporated. I almost put him on here.
Oh,
just the corporate embezzling stuff, all that slick. But I feel like he got defeated in such a JV way. The old you got recorded. It's like, you lose a lot of points for that, even though you had a lot of drip.
Fair enough.
There's a few others. I thought about putting Ursula from Little Mermaid. She actually was really close to making the list. In fact, she was deviously close. She might actually be a snub. I don't know. For her, it might. She actually could maybe take Dr. Facilitate's spot because, as far as I recall, her credit score is pretty good, and she had a very successful villain plan.
I'm glad you have her credit score on file.
I mean, I'm saying just that wasn't hanging. It wasn't. If you don't get the voice of the princess, this bad thing's gonna happen. Like, no, she's just trying to usurp the throne. I can respect that.
So then I think next time it's just gonna be a straight up list of who has the best credit. Like who is paying their car note
most
on
financially.
Time. Like, who doesn't have student debt? Like, what are we talking here?
Most stable villains, most well-adjusted villains. I'm with it.
No child support, all that.
Highest wages paid to their goons.
Living wage. We got to pay a living wage. All right, that wraps up our segment. So let Savon know in his IG. You can find him, Vonnie Ryan, on Instagram. Cruella DeVille, Dr. Facilier, Fairy Godmother, Gaston, if you please. Lots of Hugging Bear. Maybe honorable mention, Ursula from Little Mermaid. Also, I'm not sure how we let him get away with just calling it Monsters Incorporated. Like, that's not the name of the movie. Next.
That's what it's called.
I didn't even notice that.
We're moving into what you're loving. We gotta bring you the new stuff that you guys should be watching, listening to, playing, whatever it is. So, Mike, start us off. What are you into? What are you loving?
So mine, I feel like frequently what I'm loving is not new. And maybe like when I shame Savon for not liking things he's supposed to, it's just me projecting that I'm always on things really late and then I just get obnoxiously into them. But this isn't therapy, so we're not going to dig into that too much. So what I will say is, friend of the show, Tyler, texted me a few weeks ago. He was like, you should download For Honor. I'll explain what the game is in a second, but it's like 5 years old and it was on sale for like $3. So, I'm never the one to say no. So I bought it on my phone right away.
$30 at 5 years old. That's holding some value.
$3.
Oh, $3.
Three. Yeah,
Okay.
knock a zero off there. So I got it for very cheap. So For Honor, and we've been trying to explain this to you, Wesley, and you've been very hesitant to really make any grounds with understanding what we're explaining to you. And we're not going to unpack that either. But
just a side note, none of these guys are teachers, and so their explaining skills are a little bit
First
weak
of all,
over
me and
text.
Savon have
Over
both
text.
been teachers, and that's
Over
like
text.
being a Marine. Like, you're always a teacher. So,
And Wes, I teach you life. So
yeah, so
you're on
come
notice.
now. This guy, unbelievable. Anyway, so the main thing to know here is like think of like a fighting game, Tekken, Street Fighter, any of that. You got to know your character. There's lots of combos. But take all that and put it in like a sword fighting game, almost similar to like a Dark Souls, Demon Souls kind of thing.
Okay, wait. So pause. So this is how they explained it. Oh, actually, they left out the part here about Tekken. So I was like, oh, is it like Tekken where you can like move around a little bit? And they're like, no, it's not like that. And then they're like, because it has swords. And I was like, oh, so it's like Soul Calibur. And they're like, no, it's not like that. So you can see why like I'm, they think I'm bad at understanding, but
no,
like
because
literally
you're
they're
just
describing
explaining
Tekken first.
how you were confused. This is not
They
how
were-
we explained it. I explicitly
You
said it
did.
is not like Tekken immediately.
After-
See, we said we
after
weren't
I
gonna
asked
do
if
this,
it was like
and now we're
Tekken.
doing it. And now I'm swearing because I'm worked up.
All the kids,
no,
close your
here's-
ears, kids.
Look, it is not like side by side, that kind of thing. Like you can
See, they
run
didn't tell
around
me
a
that.
map.
How could
Okay.
I know? I'd never seen
I
it.
literally said, Wesley, I said, think of Ghost of Tsushima and put in like Tekken's fighting or Soul Calibur.
This was after. This was after I had
like
asked these
5 seconds after. Anyway, it is very fun, but because it's been out 5 years and it is a fighting game, so like there's a lot of like knowing your character and knowing the combos. It is so hard. But because there's such like a high skill level, like when you do beat somebody and it does lock in, it feels really cool, and like all the fighting is really smooth, so it really does feel like you're kind of like watching a movie or a cutscene a lot of the times. But the same way with all that joy when you master it, like it can be so aggravating, dude. Like Savon coined a very nice phrase, because when I was getting into it, they were trying to like, frame it for me that like you're going to suck in the beginning and it's okay. So Savon said, you got to get snuck so you can learn how to not get snuck. I've been getting snuck a lot, but now I'm starting to do some of the sneaking. So great game, very cheap. Do not play it by yourself. Play it with somebody that knows how to play it. It is very fun. It's just kind of, I've gotten $3 out of it, but I've also probably gotten a couple more white hairs. So For Honor, PlayStation Store on sale. If you don't want to play, holler at me and Savon.
Yeah, it's fun. The executions
Brian,
are really
what you
Get
got?
snuck on. So yeah. So one thing I've been watching recently is a new HBO show called The White Lotus. And to me, this show is like the perfect show when you're lying in wait for Succession season 3. And for those of you that don't know, Succession is about a rich oligarch kind of family media empire, much like the Murdochs, combined with a little bit of Trump. And they're just all awful people, and they're a bunch of snakes, and they're trying to vie for the heir to the throne of that empire. Hilarious show. White Lotus is kind of the summer vacation version of that TV show. It's basically three different really ultra rich white families going to Hawaii for an island vacation at a 5-star resort. It's actually filmed at the Four Seasons in Maui, I believe. So it has that feel, and it's very much about how all these people, all these guests, are really awful. They're really awful to each other. They're not competing for power in the way that it happens in Succession, but in White Lotus, a lot of the hilarity and drama is actually the tension that exists between the family members, but also between them and the staff that work at the White Lotus Resort in Maui. And that's where like things kind of get a little zany. We know in the very first episode that it's a flash forward, and basically somebody dies during the season of the show, and a possible murder, and we don't know why. And then we flash back to the actual season, and all the guests are coming to the resort, and there's a hotel manager who's sort of leading his cast of hotel employees who are tasked with, basically, he says to them, treating all these guests, all these rich guests, as entitled babies, and making sure that they always feel like they're being babied, while seething through their teeth that they really want to gouge an eye out of one of these people. And so it's a really funny satire of a show. I had a friend recently who was like, I don't want to watch shows like that anymore. It's just like all white people and whatever. And my response to that is, yes, it is very heavily white, but it's like the kind of white that find like hilarious and like enjoyable to watch, because they're being skewered the entire show for being so privileged and entitled. And it's a really good satire and the perfect summer sort of appetite wetter for season 3 of Succession, which should come out later this year or early next year.
So it's like Eat the Rich, but as a comedy.
Yes,
Okay.
essentially. And
any
there's
actors?
definitely going to be a comeuppance, because the hotel manager that I mentioned, who is sober for 5 years, falls off the wagon in the middle of the season, and the season hasn't finished. But you know that shit's going to go down with him now that he's let loose.
Well, so okay, is there anybody in it that we know like would recognize, or is there somebody behind the production that we should know about? Like, oh, we recognize their name or something like that from another show.
If I did
Or
my
is it, like, all
homework,
new
maybe
folks?
I would know such a thing
Yeah.
about who the showrunner is. But in terms of who's on screen, there's Steve Zahn, who's like a goofy character actor. He appears in a lot of stuff. I can't even remember. Like, he's in Modern Family as the neighbor. So he plays like this hapless husband of a Sheryl Sandberg type character. This CEO type woman who's taking her family on a vacation, and meanwhile Steve Zahn is like, I don't know what's going on with my life, and like he's unraveling for other reasons, but he's kind of like just the side piece husband to the Sheryl Sandberg character. And then the woman from Legally Blonde, I don't even remember the name.
Jennifer
of the character.
Coolidge.
Jennifer Coolidge. She's there at the hotel to discard the ashes of her dead mother, who apparently was really abusive to her as a child, but wealthy. And she's there alone and kind of tries to enlist some of the staff to help her mourn. And they do it because she's kind of waving money at them. So there's an interesting dynamic there. And then, everybody else are people I don't recognize. But
All right, so
pretty
HBO
funny
Max?
show. HBO Max.
All right, people, check it out. Let Brian know. Let us know what you think. What I'm loving this week is Ted Lasso season 2. I wasn't sure for those of you who don't know what Ted Lasso is, it's on Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus isn't that expensive, but if you don't have it, it's understandable. There aren't that many shows or movies on Apple TV Plus that are worth watching, so makes sense. But Ted Lasso is absolutely a show that's worth paying for. Maybe wait till the whole season is done, and then just pay for 1 month, and then you can watch them all at once. The premise of Ted Lasso, if you haven't seen it, is that a Premier League soccer team is trying not to get relegated. They're at the bottom of the table. And what they do is they hire a football coach from America, and not a soccer football coach. They hire an American football coach. And his job is to come in and hopefully save the team. That's the premise of season 1. I thought it was wonderful. I took a while to watch it. My sister had recommended it a few times. Thanks, Alexis, for putting me on Ted Lasso. Loved it. Hilarious. Oh my God. I just could not believe how good a job they did with it. And then, it's been a while since season 1. And so season 2 is just starting right now. And I was like, well, are they going to, keep the same kind of feel? Is it going to feel the same, or has fame changed them? Has the fame and the money changed them? And it hasn't. I think season 2 so far, there's only been 2 episodes, has kept up the high level of comedy, heart, what this is really known for as a show. So if you haven't started it, I highly recommend going back to watch season 1 if you haven't already. And if you have, then, keep up with it. Let us know what you guys think. And if you're into basketball, you don't even have to be into basketball. If you just want to know more about the show, Zach Lowe just did an interview with Coach Beard on the show, who's also one of the writers and co-creators of the show. So it's kind of cool to see his behind the scenes point of view. So check it out on the Lowe post. Zach Lowe got to interview him, and he's a Chicago guy. So they talk a little about Chicago sports too.
So here's what I'll say. So my Anna has been traveling a lot for work lately. So when she travels, I typically try and fill the hole in my heart with a bingeable TV show. So this most recent trip, I watched all of season 1 in one sitting. 6 out of 10. I laughed out loud a lot. Yeah, and I watched it all in a row. And I laughed out loud a lot. Half of the time I was like, oh, because this is really funny. The other half is like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And like, I don't know what I was expecting from this show. It is at its core like a sitcom that has heart. Like, I don't think there's more to it than that. Like, there's only 10 episodes in the season, and some of them are just complete throwaways. Like, they're trying to expel a ghost in the training room. Like, that was a whole episode. And I like,
they're short episodes.
Yeah, but like, if it's exactly, then don't give me like, as they would say, rubbish for one of them. Like, so I don't know. It's
Rubbish.
worth a watch. It's worth a watch. It's very feel good. Like, you're gonna leave most of the episodes feeling good. It also made me realize, like, I haven't watched or really consumed any media in so long. Like, when the default is everything's gonna work out, you know, maybe like some of the Marvel stuff, but like, you know, whatever problem they're faced, it's gonna work out in the end, which is maybe nice, especially if I'm using the show to kind of void my loneliness. So worth a watch. It's like a good binge, but don't expect too much out of it.
It's
In
the
my
style
opinion.
of humor.
Tell me you don't have a sense of humor without telling me you don't have a sense of humor, Mike. It's cool. Go ahead, Brian.
Mike, I think you need a Ted Lasso in your life, man.
What is that?
Like, he'll just be so encouraging and like pat you on the back and like really know how to bring you up.
I cannot explain to you how much of a lack of a Ted Lasso in my life there is. So maybe that's a product of why Wesley is probably the closest thing to Ted Lasso for me.
And I'm always
and we
a
just
hard time.
relentlessly, absolutely tear Wesley apart at every opportunity. So that probably says a lot about this group of people, about me, and about the rest of my life. So good point. This show is continuing to delve into therapy for Mike. So thank you for that.
Savon, what have you been loving?
Wait, what is the style of humor of this show? Like,
Sitcom, like straight sitcom. Like, have you
is
seen
it like
New
slapstick?
Girl?
Like, do people fall and it's supposed to be funny?
There is lots of slapstick. There is like, the whole thing is that he has a thick Southern drawl. Like, he's a American college football coach, and he's like, God, it's folksy wisdom with these British people that like are confused. And he's like, oh, I hate tea. Tea is terrible. How do you drink tea? Here's coffee, or like, you know what we said in Texas.
Okay, he's like an arrogant Southern American.
No, he's not arrogant. He's not arrogant. He's very confident. What I will say is I do appreciate his leadership style as someone who's had to manage people in the past that have been very hesitant to being managed. I do very much appreciate his style as a leader. But the comedy is like, I don't know how to say it appropriately for this show. It's like dumb, but it's very heartwarming. Like, I'm saying, like, half the time I'm laughing at the show, I'm just like face in my hands, like, oh my God, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Sounds like Jackass.
No,
it's not. It's not like that. But the whole tension comes from this idea that like he's this guy who is like way positive, right? Like, he's super positive. He always thinks things are going to work out. He always knows the right thing to say, and so he's sort of this like ray of sunshine, right? But he exists in this world that's that exists in a world that is pessimistic, that maybe is more realistic, that is cynical. And so the tension oftentimes comes from like him having to like navigate these things, and other people having to like figure out why in the world this guy is so positive. And they're just, it's just like a barrel of laughs for me. I think the Roy Kent character, I'm not sure the actor who plays him, has been just phenomenal. Like, he steals so many moments and so many scenes, and he just drops a whole ton of F-bombs all over the place. So you would think it'd be, since it's like such a sweet show, you'd think it would be like PG rated, they'd maybe do the Good Place version where they'd say like fork and shirt and stuff, but they don't. Like, they're just dropping F-bombs left and right. But Ted Lasso doesn't drop them.
So the swearing is very weird in the show because it's all very positive and everything's going to work out and it's heartwarming. The swearing is weird, and you left out one important plot line there, and it's that Ted Lasso is this relentlessly positive guy. He's winning over everybody's hearts. Like, he is like pretty steadfast, and then there's just this plot line of his marriage failing throughout the whole show that they just throw in at random points, and it's really sad, and it's like, I was not expecting like a marriage story in my Mighty Ducks movie. And like that's essentially what they did there. So there's a few times it feels really inconsistent. The swearing is one because, again, like you said, it's just so positive, and then this marriage falling apart is also really weird.
False.
The best
It's
part about the
100%
show,
consistent.
though, is Ted Lasso's dancing. The viral video that they keep referencing on the show, where Jason Sudeikis is busting a move in the middle of a crowd of football players, is hilarious and great. That guy got moves.
He has swag.
He got swag.
No drip,
swag.
but
No
swag.
drip.
Yeah,
No
but
drip.
swag. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Savon, overly sarcastic productions. What you got for us?
Yeah, so what I am loving, there's a YouTube channel that I follow. They're called Overly Sarcastic Productions. And they do a lot of really cool content that tends to be about literature and about the Odyssey or about historical events really summarized. I think the two of the content creators are like an English and literature major. But one of the content creators, she goes by Red, has a series she does called Trope Talk. And I'm a huge fan of it because she is just very well versed in, I guess, just writing conventions and what goes into writing and all of that. And is very well read, I guess, with general pop culture. And so she releases these trope talks that focuses in on a specific trope in media, whatever. And then she basically deconstructs it and breaks it down and talks about, what is this trope? What are the origins of it? What are some examples of it maybe in your popular media? And as she's explaining it, she'll even have little clips from shows that kind of maybe reinforce the point. But her content's really fun because the same reason I shouted out Corridor Crew, I'm enjoying people who are experts in something break stuff down in a way that I can better enjoy things that I watch. So she has one that's about like chaotic, like pure evil characters, and it's just about how villains are pure evil and the pros and cons of writing that type of character, and how some good examples are like, you know, the Fire Lord. He has no character development. He doesn't evolve, but he's just evil. And they show how he works. And then other characters who are pure evil and why they don't work. But either way, I walk away with a better understanding of this trope, what they bring to the table, the pros and cons, and examples and different things I've watched. And she just does that for a bunch of just tropes. The 5-man band, characters who are immortal, sins of the father, just all of that. So it's really well produced, and she's very knowledgeable. She has a bit of a leftist leaning with some of her opinions, which I don't complain about at all. But the content's really good. The only con maybe is that she can be a bit of a fast talker, so sometimes you can't like half listen to it. But they're really good, like anywhere from 10 to 15, 17-minute videos, but they're really fun. It's given me a deeper appreciation of all the shows and stuff I've watched. And if you're into that sort of thing and you don't know a lot about writing, but you like to hear someone who does know about it talk about it, I highly recommend their content.
Big question, though. Why are they called Overly Sarcastic Productions?
At least for her, Red, she has a very sarcastic tone and spin of when she talks about things. Like, she has one thing when she talks about H.P. Lovecraft, and like, she's not subtle about her dislike of his xenophobic and racist like tendencies, but she's very sarcastic about it. So I think that's just their shtick. They're very dry about how they talk about some things.
I wonder if this is something like ELA teachers play in their class in lieu of teaching. Because I'm like looking, it's like Dante's Inferno, Beowulf, King Arthur, Aphrodite. It's like all of these like things I remember having to read and be like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah, she talked about it in a fun way, but like I said, I think the ones about tropes in particular are fun because most of the shows that we watch, especially MCU shows, movies, a lot of these trope conventions become relevant, and it's fun to just see, oh, cool, this is what the writer for this movie were thinking when they put this character, and I better understand it because of her breakdowns for me. And I have the language for things I didn't have the language for before.
Yeah, I'm seeing like trope talk, plot twist, trope talk, reformed villains, trope talk, manly men.
So you
last
don't
one,
feel
trope
like-
talk, crouching moron, hidden badass.
That's funny. So you don't feel like kind of peeking behind the curtain has like, you feel like it's kind of expanded your understanding and enjoyment of media rather than like kind of taking away the magic of it?
No, because for things that I watch that I enjoy, and I say this as humbly as possible, I don't watch things I don't like. So if I'm watching it, I'm already enjoying it. So understanding why I'm enjoying it to me is ultimately good. Like I love that Castlevania show. Trope talk stuff helped me better understand where certain characters fit into the story and appreciate why they were written well. Now, for things that aren't good, it does make the flaws stand out because I kind of see what the pitfalls are, but it's not really the end of the world for me. A lot of stuff, if I'm watching it to like it, I'm already going to go in liking it. So it just reinforces.
It makes it really hard to hate on your opinions when you just have such thorough backing for everything. So I'm going to need you to watch a little more dumb YouTube. Thank you.
All right, friends. Well, that'll wrap up our show. Hit us up if you got any comments, especially about the starting five. We're not going to call it the top five. Savon's starting five. I'm interested to see if you guys would come up with a different list. There's so many great villains out there, both in terms of their swag and their drip. I'd imagine we could come up with some really good ones. Will probably hit us up on Instagram with one. And, if you got a good therapist for Mike in the New Orleans area, let us know. Socials, Twitter, Instagram, @confidently_pod. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Visit our sponsors. You know who they are at this point. It's obviously Comfy, Ford, Amazon. Who else we got?
Big
Philip
Tobacco.
Morris. Yeah, Big
Philip
Tobacco.
Morris. Now we
Shout
picked
out.
up a new
Yeah,
sponsor.
yeah,
Yep.
what
So
up?
go
And
visit all
whoever
of them,
makes
guys.
the long cigarette sticks.
Yeah,
their money.
yeah. Whoever makes those.
That'll do it for our show. We'll see you next time, friends.